what was a typical night like at the ranch or at the island? Like, would they be cooking big meals? Would you sit down and have like
Yeah.
what would the night be like?
Do you know what that was the thing is I didn't very often see Epstein eating off his own plate. He'd eat off other people's plates. It was
Hmm.
almost like it seemed like maybe he was scared of being poisoned. There were often like platters put out, and everything was done very. The food was done very well. They didn't eat any bread or cheese, or it was all very much like seafood and salads and vegetables.
Wow. So they try to be healthy. I mean, obviously they want to live forever, and that's why supposedly at the Zorro Ranch is where he wanted to impregnate, hundreds of women to try to have these like, an army of children. But what about Epstein's partying on the island? Where there was a lot of drugs? Were there a lot of drinking?
No,
No?
never alcohol. No, we were never allowed to drink there, and never any drugs that I know of.
Really? Like you're
That's
telling me
interesting.
see, I wouldn't have thought that. You're telling me that Jeffrey Epstein they weren't like, I would think partying, right? I mean, I would
No,
think, really? What about weed? They weren't smoking weed
at
on the
all.
island?
We'd see him only at lunch and dinner, and then when we were called to his bedroom. And I didn't even see him swimming in the swimming pool or doing any of the normal things that someone with a house like that would be doing.
Did he seem stressed or was he a happy guy? Like what was his,
He
what
was
would,
very, very calm all the time. The only time I saw him get a bit stressed was when he saw a cat on the island and he freaked out about the
I
cat.
didn't like
what, he doesn't like
cats.
cats?
He said he's allergic, but the cat was like 20 meters away, and that's the only time I saw him lose his temper. And then I also saw him stressed when Maria and Annie Farmer wrote an article about him in the Vanity Fair. There was a story that, I was there when that all happened. That was one of the last times I was there.
So you were there when he was having kind of a existential crisis about this Vanity Fair. So you saw him, pressed for lack of a better word. And did he handle it
Yeah.
well? I mean, how did he handle that Vanity Fair article?
Well, he just said that these girls were infatuated with him and they were liars. Because, he was a mastermind criminal. So being around people like that really broke one down. And it was just, very difficult being around someone like him altogether.
Do you
It
think?
was terrifying.
Do you think? It's hard to navigate this subject because you can get canceled for saying it. But where do you think Israel falls into all of this?
Well, I don't really know. I don't ever like to be like anti any nation or
Me
anything,
neither.
but
Me neither. I'm not
it does
anti-Israel.
seem Mossad.
I just want to ask this because
Mossad.
Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, who was given a proper
Yeah,
Israeli funeral, and that.
Mossad. Leslie Wexner, Mossad. Epstein also told me he worked with the CIA. Before I was sent home, he told me that he worked with the CIA. He had my family's name on a list. And he said that a girl who accused him of rape, he planted drugs in her apartment and had her sent to prison. So I was
Wow.
terrified, of course. And, it just seems like CIA and Mossad are connected somehow.
For sure
They
they
all
are.
seem like they're connected.
For sure. It's like
Like Maxwell's father died, then she was suddenly there with Epstein. And where did all his money come from? Apparently, he was a math teacher. He never told me he was a math teacher. And he used to talk quite a lot. He told me he was a cab driver, not a math teacher.
wait, time out. That was where, because I'm sure you're curious, like, how do you have money? I mean, maybe you don't want to ask that because that's an awkward question to ask. But when he talks about his previous career, that's what he described his job qualifications. He was a cab
He told me
driver
he used to be a cab driver.
in New York City, just driving cabs, and then you
Yeah.
become one of
And
the
he
most
told me
powerful.
that he used to give girls free rides.
I'm so fly, I'm aligned with the planes. My grind so refined, I got no time for no games. Ask yourself